So today is going to be a story time video, and I feel like this is going to be an extremely long video, but YOLO. Before my phone dies, let me make sure I charge it somehow. Hold up. We're good to go. Hola. So because I didn't have enough storage, I had to delete some footage, and I accidentally deleted the introduction of my story. So basically, I was supposed to be born on May 3rd of 1999, and I was actually born January 14th of 1999. On January 13th, my mom wasn't feeling that well, so she went to the doctor, and the doctor told her that she was 3 centimeters dilated, which means that she was ready to have moi. She went to the hospital. There was a procedure done called cerclage. Basically, that means that they sew the cervix. She wouldn't be able to deliver, and that would benefit me for my chance of survival. So the next day came around a couple hours after her surgery, and her water broke. So before she was going into labor, the doctors told her that there was a bigger issue. They said that I was breech, meaning that my feet were coming out first instead of my head. So they wanted to do a C-section because of that, but my mom was concerned with her uterus. She was on triple IV antibiotics. The doctor suggested either a C-section or to deliver me normally. But if my mom delivered normally, I would have a 10% chance of life. And if I did a C-section, I would have 20% chance of life. So my mom needed some time to herself, and she was in the room alone, and she prayed to God, and God gave her the answer to deliver me normally. So she told the doctor her decision, and she explains why, and she said because something was telling me, and the best way to do it is to deliver normally. She felt that the higher power was God, so the doctors respected her and trusted her. So they go into delivery. My mom delivers me within like 2 minutes, pretty quick, and as soon as I came out of the wound, the doctor held me in one palm of his hand, no joke, being extremely serious. The doctor held me in one palm of his hand, screaming to my mom, "You made the right choice, you made the right choice." My eyes were a few shut like a bird. I was so tiny, you could see every single vein in my body, and you can actually see my heart pumping. They weighed me, and I was 1 pound and 10 ounces. So they took me to the neonatal intensive care unit, and they intubated me, which means there was a tube going down my throat so it could help me breathe better. So while I was in the care unit, they told my mom that I was a micro premature baby, which means that I was less than 24 weeks in the womb. So my PDA, which is patent ductus aortosis, my valve wasn't closing, so they gave me this medication called indomethacin, and you could only do it 3 times, otherwise it could be a hazard for the baby, which it could have been a hazard for me. Finally, the 3rd dose actually worked, and it closed my valve. And that night, the doctors called my mom telling them that I needed a blood transfusion. And the blood transfusion actually worsened everything. The blood transfusion popped my valve back open. So the next morning, my mom gets a call from the doctors again saying that the valve opened and I needed heart surgery, but I needed to go to a different hospital, and I had heart surgery. It went successful, but 10 days after my heart surgery, my mom was in a very bad car accident. So as my mom was on her way with my older sister Margot, who was then 4 or 5, they were both in the car on their way to parent-teacher conference. As she was on the expressway, someone hit her from behind. They hit her so bad that my mom's car rolled over 2 times. When she realized the car was flipping, she prayed to God and told God these exact words, "Please don't take Margot away from me." As the car flipped over twice, the car actually landed on the 4 wheels. Miracle, I know. The car was actually between the divider, so of course every piece of glass was blown from the car, and my mom jumped out of her seat to get Margot. And Margot was little, so she thought it was a snowstorm, but really the quote-unquote snowstorm was the glass flying around. And when they both came out of the car and the ambulance and cops were there, they did not have one scratch, one broken bone, nothing. They were perfectly fine. They still went to the hospital to get checked and they were good. So they came home that night. So a little side note, I was in and out of hospitals from the time I came out of my mom's womb to 3 years old. Because I was in the hospital so much, I got staph infections and obviously other infections. So every time I did get an infection, they would call my mom, notifying her that they weren't sure if I was going to make it through the night. So Easter Sunday of 1999, my mom gets a call from the hospital saying I was sick. Every time I got an infection, I had to be intubated. Since I was intubated, I had IV in my veins, and that's what made my veins blow. So it was very hard for them to find a vein. They took me into surgery and gave me a Broviac, which is that scar on the middle of my chest. It's the central IV in the chest, so they don't have to keep on looking for veins. So they do it, and the doctors told my mom that it would last 6 months. But it only lasted 2 weeks. They tell my mom I got another infection. They said that after 2 weeks they would take it out. But my mom didn't like the idea because I had so much ongoing surgeries. She felt to wait as long as possible, and they could only wait 2 weeks. My mom told them to trust her, give my daughter 2 weeks, do not take her back into surgery because I had a feeling I'm a mother and her instinct as a mother is greater. That doctor that she spoke to on the phone that day sent her a letter a couple months later, I believe, saying that my mom taught the doctor something that you can't learn in medical school, which is to follow your heart and your instincts. They waited another 2 weeks. The surgery was successful. When you're in the incubator, the doctors have to be very careful because they're giving you so much oxygen to breathe better, but too much oxygen can really damage your eyes, and that's what happened to me. They told my mom that I needed eye surgery, and the type of eye surgery I had done was retinopathy. So the day I was supposed to go into surgery, they kept on switching the hours of when I was supposed to have the surgery. So the next day they told my mom to come in at 11 a.m. and they are for sure that they are going to do this eye surgery. So my mom comes in, she's waiting and waiting. My dad arrives and tells my mom that something is wrong. He said to my mom that there was a fire in their home. So basically what happened was the men were installing water meters, and however they installed the water meters, it caught on fire. My family at that time had no place to live, so they stayed at my Nana's until they found a new place to stay. So after the eye surgery, my mom got a call from the doctors saying that the NIC unit has been quarantined, meaning that absolutely no one is allowed in there because it contains a sickness that could potentially kill you. Since one of the babies came down with it, they separated that baby in a different room and tested out all the other babies in the unit. So out of all the other babies tested, I was the only one who had this sickness. It showed up positive. The sickness was called vancomycin-resistant enterococcus. So it was weird. This VRE showed up positive, but I didn't get sick from it. There were no signs of this sickness. They realized that when they tested me, the VRE was shedding off from my body. They did feel that I was the carrier because this VRE sickness lives in operating rooms, and I was in the operating rooms a lot. That was an assumption that the doctors made and told my mom. Finally, on May 3rd of 1999, I got better and I was able to come home, but I still had a lot of problems. Every time I ate, I threw up and I got sick, and I was in and out of hospitals frequently from May to December of 1999. So one of the doctors recommends that my mom goes to see a ear, nose, and throat doctor. They said I had subglottic stenosis, which is a narrowing of the airway, so I had to get a tracheostomy. So the reason why I had to get a tracheostomy was because of this stupid doctor that thought I had a cyst, but it wasn't a cyst. It was actually skin-deep scar tissue, and he thought it was a cyst, so he took it out, which made my breathing even worse, and that is why I had to get a tracheostomy. So right after I got the tracheostomy, they paralyzed me for 4 days, so I wouldn't be able to pull out the trach on my throat, and I was in the hospital for about a month. So I came home and things were getting better, but the problem was that the doctors told my mom that I wouldn't be able to speak and that she would have to learn sign language, and I would have the tracheostomy for at least 5 years of my life. Because of this cyst incident, she didn't want that doctor again, so she got a new one. They said that they could do laser surgery to get rid of the scar tissue. They did little by little when they did this laser surgery for my throat. The third surgery was a successful one, and the doctor told my mom that it was almost a miracle that I had 80% of my airway back, which was much better than this small airway for me to breathe. He did not accept my mom's medical at the time, but he took whatever the insurance would give him to do my surgery, and I'm here, bitches! Huh? So they said that it would close up and heal on its own, but it didn't, and at 3 years old I had my last surgery when they closed up my throat, which is why I have scarring here. But I am here today. Honestly, it's a true miracle. If you want to talk about beating the odds, I definitely beat them. And even though the doctor said that I wouldn't be able to talk or see, and I could be able to talk, hear, see, just live like a normal human being. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I know it was a very long video, and I'm definitely going to edit a lot of this. The miracles can happen. Like moi being alive. Fierce like Beyonce. Yes. Okay, I will see you all soon. Love you all. Peace out. Mwah!